All right, I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to the Comedy Factory Comedy Chat. We got a great guest tonight. He's one of Boston's funniest comedians, one of the funniest guys I booked. He's been on NESN Comedy All Stars, the Food Network, the Cake Challenge. Sounds like something I should have been in. BET, the ComicView, Comcast Cable, and WBIN, the Chris Tabb Show. He's worked with Jim Gaffigan, Eddie Griffin, Tom Carter, D.L. Hewley, Nick DiPaolo, Tommy Davidson, many others.
You're
Again,
taking
one
me
of
back.
Boston's...
You're going to make me tear up. Those were the good old days, man. Those were the good old days.
One of Boston's funniest comics. He just did a virtual comedy show from Laugh Boston. Chris Tabb, my good friend. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on, JP. I appreciate it, man. You haven't forgotten about me.
I haven't forgotten about you. You're a funny dude.
Anybody I have to claim on my taxes, I hope I haven't forgotten about me. So thanks, man. And listen, I'll give you your roses now. Thank you for just all the work and respecting the craft and putting funny guys up. You know what I mean? You're one of the rare guys. You're a booker and a comic, and you do both pretty well. So there's a delicate balancing act there, man. I mean, I've been at shows where you're coming in from another show. So I'm like, this guy's working and he's putting together these dynamite shows. It's not an easy thing. I do not take it for granted. I appreciate you as a person, as a comedian, as a booker. Thank you, John Perrotta. Thank you, man.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, Chris. Because I got a passion for comedy like you do, and when I started, it was the end of the comedy boom, and all the clubs started closing. So all of a sudden, my buddy said, "Let's put a comedy night together." I thought he was crazy, but little did I know that was the beginning of 29 years of me putting shows together.
There it is.
And I always love having you on. You're one of the few comics I request stuff from you. I say, Chris, can you do this bit tonight? Can you do that?
Hey, listen, you're one of
your stuff, man.
You're one of the few guys I will juggle other dates for. Sometimes you get a date from somebody who's like, "Nah, I'm booked." But I can't say it about many, but I can honestly say I've never had a bad night in a John Perrotta room. So those are the things that I just appreciate in comedy. I mean, it's always good crowds, always great feedback. There's never a hassle. I don't have to chase you down for money. The first couple of times you booked me and you would pay me before the show even started, I'd be like, is this right? I don't know if this should be happening. What? This guy?
No, I'm a little different. I'm a little different.
Well, that's how I know you respect comedy and you respect comedians. And I think that's all any comedian wants, just to be respected as a person and respected, for their craft. You know what I mean? I mean, as a booker, you also have to juggle maybe a comedian who's not ready. They want to get on your stage. Maybe they've come to the show. I've been in that position. You come to the show, the crowd's on fire. It looks great. I think my 3 minutes would work great in this room. But, hopefully those comics understand, you also have to assess to a degree. And again, you're a bit of a gatekeeper, but you're not deciding anyone's career path. You're doing what's best for your room, and you're probably doing what's best for them. That's why I knew it was a good thing when you started those comedy classes, because it's a great way to get to a new comic early, because it's not so much being funny. There's a ton of funny guys out there, but not everybody has that other skill set to get you to the. I mean, I've worked with the guys who are super funny, but maybe some of their other skill sets just aren't there yet. They're not able to handle it. Maybe they're doing things on stage like, why is that guy doing that? And again, there's no rhyme or reason to doing this. I mean, you look at all the celebrity comics that are out there now, all the guys that are killing it. One's very different from the other. There's no formula to comedy. There are some rules, but there's no formula to it. Because if you had told me, 30 years ago, all you have to do is smash fruit with a sledgehammer on stage and you will be a millionaire. Listen, you start pulling shit out of a trunk on stage and like running around and showing it, you will be a millionaire. Get yourself some puppets. Get yourself puppets. That's the way to do it. There's a million ways to do this. There are a million ways to do this. But one of the first things you have to learn is, who are you on stage? Who are you up there? And I think that sometimes takes longer to develop than the material.
Yeah, it took me a number of years.
Right, to just own it, because we all start out with those dreams of aspirations of our favorites, of our heroes. I've been everybody on stage. I've been Eddie Murphy, I've been Chris Rock, I've been Jerry Seinfeld. You emulate your heroes, but once you approach this in the right way and start to learn, well, those guys are those guys for a reason. I got to be the best me that I possibly can be on this stage. I think that broke for me. I don't want to start getting into the years. I'll feel like I'm growing a beard or something. But I was working with Tommy Davidson, and he just, in a matter of a short amount of time, but it stuck with me. I was hosting, opening for him, and after I got off stage one time, he said, "Hey man, you got to go up there and open the show. You're just going up there and like talking to people. You're just going up there and doing your act. And that's not what I need. I need you to welcome the people. I need you to make them comfortable. I need you to set the table." And it was that kind of stuff that kind of sat with me. And then of course I watched him and I was like, oh, okay. I've got this 10 minutes, or I've got this 15 minutes. Let me make this into the best 10 or 15 minutes I can, because and sometimes you're into, you start out and you're into counting your jokes. I know I can do this many jokes in this amount of time. But what happens if that one of those jokes kill and you get an applause break or something in the middle or whatever? You're all messed up. But hey guys, settle down. I got 4 more things I gotta finish. I can't finish the rest of my things. It's all developmental. And then you start getting into, I talk with my buddy Corey Manning about this a lot. Like, wow, I only did 2 bits tonight. I only did 2 bits. Like, I didn't have a chance to even get to all my stuff because the crowd was great. I was working it. I learned how to do my pauses. I wasn't nervous. I didn't rush through it. And that's what I mean by that skill set. Again, it's great to be funny, but having those other tools and those other things are going to help you a whole lot in the long run, because not everything's going to be a VFW in Cranston. I mean, it might be second show in the middle of a city and it's 11:30 at night and the whole crowd's been drinking, and now the 8 o'clock set, that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. You better get after it, bro. You better get after it. So there's a lot that goes along with this, but I always embrace the learning. I always embrace trying to take something away from every show. You know what I mean? I mean, just seeing you, I remember early on when you would book me, I was like, God damn it, I don't want to follow John. This guy lights it up. You know what I mean? But I had to learn to embrace that energy, and just talking to other comics, because you could go a place where there's 2 guys before you that light it up. You know what I mean? It's not so much about what the guy in front of you does. It's that you focus on you. Do your thing. Do your thing. And to also, there's this thing I call getting in the stream. Just get in the stream. It's like when, for example, when you go up, you get the crowd here. You get them here. My job is to get into that stream. You know what I mean? And by whatever they're going, they're having a good time or whatever. Jump in. It's a party. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have a good time. So again, that was that learning curve and just embracing it. And here's what it is. And I'm still evolving. I'm an old guy, but I'm still evolving. I'm still
The
learning.
amazing thing about you, Chris, I've seen you headline shows, crush. I've seen you. You're a great like headliner host. You come
Yeah.
out, you bring the energy up. I've seen you. I've been in shows where you host at the comedy scene and other places, and you're an unbelievable host. And
I
an
remember when
unbelievable
you used to
headliner.
feature me. I remember you used to feature me, and I would love those spots, man. What was the name of that place that was man, there was like a deck built inside the restaurant. They had they had the railings and everything. I don't know if it was meant to be a stage, but I guess it was a seating area that they cleared off, and there was like a full deck in the place. And I was like, where does John find these places?
I had a million rooms. I don't remember.
Man. But always the best food. Always the best food. So I've never had a bad time at a John Perrotta show, and just working with all the and your shows are so diverse in the way of talent and the style of acts, because you know, here I am working with the man of mystery. I'm like, this like magic. What the hell? How are we doing here with magic?
I mix it up.
It works out great. It works out great, man. And then my other favorite, what's our guy's name? Damn, I was just looking at him the other day. He dresses like the old lady.
Brian Vincent, Grandma Martha.
Yeah, man, Brian, my man Brian, man. I had him come down the Cape one time. It was a Frank Sinatra impersonator, and I had Brian open, and he was phenomenal. I mean, he was right in the stream, man. He was perfect for that crowd. He's quick with the one-liners and everything.
Yeah, he's got all those old one-liners. He's funny.
Yeah, and again, that's a style where, you know, I've sat and watched and say, man, I wish I could do that. You know what I mean? I can't do that. I can't do what he does. So again, I love working with a variety of talent and different comics, and just learning and just being a part of a good show. I just want to be a part of a good show, man.
We've had a blast when you come up. You've done so many lemongrass for me and Asia Grill and all the different rooms I booked. We've had a blast, and I had you do the Special Olympics benefit. I think it was a year or two ago with Drew Dunn.
Yeah, was that at the hotel? There was, I think
the hotel.
that crowd
was like
had
400 people.
Yeah, man, that was like felt like I was playing the TD Garden. It was massive. That was one of the first times I could not see everybody. I definitely could not see everybody. But always a good time.
Yeah, you never disappoint, Chris. When I get you on a show, I look down. I got Chris Tabb coming on. I don't have to worry. You always bring it. I've never seen you not. I mean, you are one of the best comics to come out of Boston.
Let's just hope we're not jinxing it, and just hope we're riding into 2025 and we're gonna be fine.
I hear you. I mean, this pandemic. I mean, we didn't see this coming. It kind of shook things up a little for the comedy scene, but
yeah, as I said, I mean, this is it's once in a lifetime. So here's my chance to be a part of something epic. Not a lot of people are able to say that they've been through this. So you got to just find a way to, you know, take advantage of it, not let it work on your spirit or your excitement. You know, there's setbacks. I mean, the leadership's questionable and everybody's looking for answers and things like that. This is a time where you just got to be responsible for you and the ones you love, and, you know, figure it out, because obviously it isn't going anywhere. And this is that time to, hey, get to that novel you said you've always wanted to write. You know what I mean? I'm working on a couple things, and I found I still, unlike yourself, who's really in the golden position of being retired, I'm still working my day job. So, but this downtime has definitely given me that opportunity to now get to all those things that I always wish I had time to get to. But now I'm getting to them. So
you got time now.
It's working out. Yeah, now I'm stressing over those things. Now I'm stressing over all my side projects, trying to get those things going. But it's been fun. And also I'm thinking, just adjusting to this. you know, people don't want to call it the new normal, but, you know, there's a part of it that you got to believe, like, okay, it's going to be this way, maybe just for a while. So, you know, rather than fight it, just get used to it a little bit, you know, change up maybe the way you move and operate. You know, stand-up comedy is a very unique art form, and we're orators, and we need the crowd. There's nothing like being in front of a great crowd. So until it gets back to that, until it gets back to being in front of a great crowd with no restrictions, yeah, it's going to be a little different. So I've done some online shows, and I just did a big virtual show for Laugh Boston, and again, it was different, but there's also a part of it where you want to keep your chops, because, you know, comedy is a muscle, man. I mean, you can't tell me you haven't sat there and say, how does that bit go? I don't know how that bit goes.
I've watched some videos of myself, and I'm trying to remember. I don't remember my bits. I'm like, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's muscle memory. So even us doing this is a way to, you know, just work those muscles and keep your oration out there and just keep talking it through, because, you know, at some point we'll be back on stage, but it's going to be those first 3 or 4 shows that you're like, I thought I had something there, you know. So the great thing is I've been able to riff in my online shows just about the current pandemic and the whole stay-at-home thing, and, you know, how that's working out amongst folks. So it's been fun. It's kind of my thing. So just riffing and talking to people and things along those lines. So I'm definitely having fun with it. I was working on shifting gears a little bit and adding a public speaking to my list of talents. So that's been cut short right now, but no public to speak to, but you know, still staying with it and still keeping hope alive.
That's it. I came up with the idea to the Zoom with different comedians were doing it. Some friends had the idea, and I had been thinking of doing a podcast forever. I said, but maybe if I'll do this Zoom show and get on some of my friends, different comedians, and we can talk and keep things alive. Yeah. So I found this is really good for me. This is it's been helping me a lot and helping other comics too.
Maybe you should add a segment called Restaurant and Rooms Review, because you've done so many rooms and restaurants in Rhode Island that you could probably give a great review of a lot of those places. Some of their
I ride down the street sometimes, Chris, and I'll be like, I did that place, this place, this place. Sometimes I'll ride down the street and there's like 5 restaurants I've done.
Look at that.
In my 29 years, you know, it's like crazy.
And again, a testament to you, because I mean, as I know the booking game, sometimes it's so tough to just get a foot in the door, just to get a meeting with the person the decision maker, and then delivering on the promise. Because there's nothing like going in, you're hyping this guy up and saying it's going to be great, we're going to do comedy here, I've given out 10,000 flyers, and there's 6 people sitting there. I'm like, oh. Yeah. The guy's like, where's all my people? Like, listen, I'm going to buy 7 turkey dinners from you, sir. You're going to break even tonight. I'm going to buy a turkey dinner for every comic on the show and everybody in the crowd. So you've had a great knack for creating great rooms and creating great atmosphere. And again, it's not only that, it's bringing in people that are ready to laugh. Because some people, you know, you could bring them in and it's like, I don't care what this guy's saying. I paid $35 for this steak and I'm eating this. I don't care what this guy is talking about. No, I'm not going to look up. No, I'm not going to turn my chair around. The drinks in this place are $56 a piece. No. So there's always been a great balance in your room.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've had my rough rooms, but I've had a lot of good rooms.
Sure.
You know, over
that amount of time, the percentages have been better than not.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. I've had some phenomenal rooms, and God, willing, everything will come back once things are better. I had lemongrass and spiritos and Asia Grill, and there was one I was going to have you at Venue 131 in Cumberland. We had a couple of shows there. It was great. So I had some really, really great rooms.
The first time I met the Prince of Mystery, I was you had me at I think it was in Connecticut. It was at some sort of like conference. It was like a real estate conference or something. And
it was in Connecticut in Norwich. It was
I went to Foxwoods after that. Yeah, but again, the people were so great. They're having their conference for, I don't know, accountants or whatever it was. But then everybody's like, "Hey, we're going to Foxwoods after." And you walk in those gigs and you're like, "This is gonna be horrible." I mean, these people are here to talk about finances and front yards. I mean, they're not interested in this. And once I saw the Prince of Mystery got up, they were receptive. I got up. It turned out great. I mean, your rooms have always shown me never judge from the door. Never judge from the door, because you just never know. You just never know.
You never know.
Definitely. And I've been to Fall River with you. I think you done a couple things in Fall River, but definitely
Bedford.
New Bedford. But I've definitely found my way around Rhode Island because of you.
I've had you at some different places for sure.
Yeah, towns I was not familiar with initially.
Yeah. Lemongrass, you nail it over there. When you're over there, man, you nail it.
Yeah, it's like some rooms are fun, and you kind of know, like, okay, this is, I've been here before, and now I can kind of stretch out a little bit. I know the crowds are always good, and it works out every time. Have you been watching many comedy specials?
Some.
Do you watch comedy specials? I've never had a conversation about you with a special that you've watched.
Well, I like Bill Burr. I like the old stuff. I like Richard Pryor. I like the other night I happened to come across a clip. Was Richard Pryor and George Carlin both on a Tonight Show. I was watching that old Johnny Carson clip. There's two of the greats sitting on a couch together. I found that unbelievable.
I got to tell you, I don't know
saw that episode.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a special called American Masters that's about Johnny Carson, and it blows me away. Now that might be just me, because that was kind of my early introductions into comedy before my parents even knew it. I was always talkative as a kid, and I'm the youngest of 6 boys, so it was stand out. Stand out. It was just me kind of standing out and bouncing off the walls. But I would so we lived in the projects in Mission Hill in Boston, and at night my mom would be up at night watching all the nightly talk shows, and so I would sneak in. Your mother always has a super high bed where you need like 6 ladders to get up in it. But I would sneak out of my room and just do an army crawl on my belly into her room, because her room's completely dark. All she's got on is a TV. Army crawl into her room and sit on her bed and watch Johnny Carson. So I was fascinated. I probably had to be, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, and I'm up watching these monologues. You know what I mean? A lot of it was over my head, but I think it was my first indication, like, I like this. He does the bits, and so, but that was how I got into guys like, I like Don Rickles is one of my all-time favorite.
Mine too, yeah.
Just for his ability. And it wasn't so much like his stand-up was great, but when he got on that couch, when he got on Carson's couch,
it's unbelievable.
The show's going in another direction. I mean, I don't know if any other guests even need to come out. And I didn't see that play out again until Robin Williams got popular and he started hitting the couch. And
it was awesome.
It's that style of comedy that I enjoy. It's energy, it's riffing, it's sometimes you can't tell where the act is versus, if he's just riffing. I mean, Don Rickles, today would be completely politically incorrect and would probably get canceled. He would get canceled by today's standards. But
yeah.
I'm glad that moment in time is frozen and locked in, that we get to appreciate it. And, you know, Carson always had those guys on that would do their thing on stage and then come over to the couch. And, you know, from Cosby to Eddie Murphy to, and for me, it was just fascinating. And then I'll never forget. So I was staying at home for a long time, you know, during the day with my mom. And that's when I would get into like Merv Griffin, Dinah Shore.
Yeah, I used to watch those. Yeah,
Flip Wilson. You know,
yeah.
I'm watching Sanford and Son in the afternoon. I'm into all of it, and that's why it was such a traumatic experience for me when the first time my mom took me to school. Like no warning, no nothing.
I don't want to go.
Yeah, we woke up one morning and I'm like getting ready for the afternoon shows. I'm like, after some cartoons and cereal, I'll just slide into a little Merv Griffin and we'll be fine. Oh no, young soul. So yeah, we got dressed. I thought we were going out to a doctor's appointment or something. Like, Jesus, I hope I get back in time for Merv. And by the time we walked across the parking lot, and my mom dropped me off at school. Like, and I was devastated. I mean, I went to pieces right in the classroom door. And luckily, my cousin Candace, who I love, was in the classroom. So apparently it was her first day too, or she had been there. I don't know what was going on. And so the teacher was like, "Does anybody know this kid?" Because I do. He's my cousin. And she kind of weaned me into the whole school thing and what this was like. Because you figure my day had no structure at that point. I had no structure. My mom had just abandoned me. So from there, my class clown history started and lasted me through my entire school career.
Did you spend some time in detention like me, or?
Yeah, well, you know what? I kind of finessed it a little bit. I didn't get in trouble as much because I made the teachers laugh as well. So I wasn't disruptive in a mean way. I was more of I was always trying to be funny. Always trying to be funny. So I wasn't being mean to kids or picking on them or anything like that. I was just trying to be funny, whether it was impressions or making sounds and things like that. So I think the teachers kind of fun. I did some detention, but I think the teachers enjoyed it a little bit more. So I was okay with it.
I wanted to say, I did meet Don Rickles once. Him and Joan Rivers performed at the Warwick Musical Theater. If you ever heard of it, it used to be in Warwick, Rhode Island. They used to have this is before the casinos. They had all the big acts would come in. Johnny Carson was there, Bob Hope. They had all different acts. And Rickles came one night. And I went over to the fence somehow, and he was walking by, and I started talking to him. And
wow.
I don't know how I did it. I gave him my ad. He sent me an autographed picture.
Were you doing comedy at the time?
No, I hadn't. I think I was just. I wanted to get into it. I don't think I was really into it yet. But he sent me an autographed picture, and I had it hanging. I don't know what happened. Somebody ran a house one day, a friend, somebody. And they stole it because I can't find it. That was my prize collection.
You have to put out a hit. You got to put out a hit on that person.
Autographed picture with Don Rickles. Like I'd give anything for that now. You know what I mean? Wow. But he was a super nice guy. And I loved him. I loved his act. I just thought he was hilarious.
Listen, I was such a fan. I used to watch CPO Sharky.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what that show is.
Yeah. I was in the Navy, so I kind of related to that show.
Yeah. So from there, I my all-time favorite entertainer is Eddie Murphy. So once Eddie Murphy sort of, I'm in my teenage years now, and my cousin and I, same cousin, Candace, are sneaking listening to Pryor and Eddie Murphy records. That was it for me. Once Eddie sort of broke it open, because I think for me, he made comedy cool. He made it, hip to be a comic. And so it was taking me from that class clown mentality to, hey, wait a minute. If I could afford it, I could wear cool clothes and be funny and, you know, act and do all these things. So that was kind of what opened it up for me. And yeah, I started out in Cambridge, Mass, and I found this guy who would eventually become my agent. And to let you know how long ago it was, some of my first jokes were about Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. And
that was the early 90s?
Yeah, and what was going on in their trial. And then it was William Kennedy Smith with the him and the girl on the beach. So that was the sort of the crux of my act at the time. And so I was taking this little Eddie Murphy side of me, and I would always try to wear cool stuff on stage or whatever, a jacket and a t-shirt or whatever, and just, you know, sort of putting my own spin on it. And from there, you know, I met the local comedy community and a bunch of guys, but it didn't really open up for me as a business at the time. Whereas it was pretty much, I always kept a day job, and, you know, and then my first son was born and stuff like that. So comedy was always something I was doing on the side. And if I had to have one regret of comedy, is probably not taking it seriously early enough, you know, sort of relaxing in that limelight of, it's just me and these guys, and this is all I need to do. If I'm good amongst these, you know, 4 or 5 guys that used to hang out, and, you know, the agent I had at the time was sending us to colleges but ripping us off. I mean, we were getting $100 to go to a college. I had no clue. I don't know what, you know, I don't know what colleges pay, and, you know, unbeknownst, you know, the college is paying them, you know, $8-9 grand, and he would give us like 100. But I was just excited to be doing comedy, and I'm on the road, and I'm traveling with these guys and figuring it out. And, you know, I think my one regret is I didn't take it seriously soon enough. And I remember I dropped out of comedy, and then I came back, and then that's when, you know, I was like, okay, you could do something with this. Like, this is like a real business. Like, that stuff on HBO you're watching isn't made up. So I would be watching these HBO specials with Eddie Murphy and Carlin and listening to Richard Pryor albums. And, you know, then the Cosby Show hit. And I'm like, wow, Bill Cosby is like one of the richest men in America, you know, just off the jokes. So yeah, but again, you know, I mentally, I was ready to commit, but I didn't have that skill set yet. I still didn't have that skill set of what am I kind of doing up here? And then I think, you know, I was working hard at the time, and then I caught a break where Ryan from the Comedy Connection let me open for a few national acts, and that was that time I got to meet Tommy Davidson and David Alan Grier and Monique and D.L. Hughley and all these folks. And it still wasn't hitting me like I'm in the presence of some like true legends here, but I started to get it. I started to get it. And I think then if I would have pushed more, I could have done more. But, you know, when you meet these guys, you're not as arrogant, or you're not as pushy to say, hey, you know, take me on the road with you. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it wasn't until Monique actually saw my act, I opened for her. And the funny thing about, and, you know, eventually she goes on to win an Academy Award, of course. But the funny thing, I remember Ryan called me it was a Sunday night. He called me on a Sunday to open for Monique, and it was probably about 2 hours before showtime. And at the time, me and my buddy Corey Manning had a somewhat successful show going. We had our own room going in Dorchester at the Emerald Isle, and I love doing that show. I mean, you must know there's certain rooms, and I looked forward to that every Sunday. You know, if I had no other shows during the week, I knew I could count on that show, and we could go in and we would do a dynamic duo thing. and Ryan had to talk me into opening for Monique because I was like, I already got something. I'm ready. I want to go do my thing. And he was like, nah, man, I think you should come on down and you'd be the guy and you need to do this. You need to do this. And I was like, let me call you back. I called my buddy Corey, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. He wants me to come down and open for Monique. So what I was going to try to do was go down and open for Monique and come back and do the Dorchester show. But you know, I'm glad I went down there. I'm glad I went down there. I did it, and it was actually 2 shows that night, and she was rocking, man. That was one of the first times I'd ever been in the presence of somebody that was like rocking it like a rock star, because she had the place packed to the brim, standing room only. Everybody's cracking up. And I was like, wow, she's really got a following. I mean, these people love her. I was like the sacrificial lamb that night. Like, I did well, but you know, you do well, but you don't even know what well is. Like, compared to what she did, it was as if I had never gone on stage. I mean, she tore it down. And she asked me to come back the next night. She was doing Sunday and Monday, 2 shows. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come back. And you know, she said the people that were with her said, okay, we're gonna watch you tonight. We're gonna watch or whatever. And okay. So I go out, I do my thing, bang, bang, bang. And, you know, weekend sold out, it's over. She goes, give me your number. And again, I think it's lip service, you know. It's what they all say. It's awkward for us to part ways now. So she'll say something to make me feel great. So she said, give me your number. Contact information. Probably, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month later, she called me up and said, hey, we got some dates. We want you to come out with us. And I was like, whoa. Because at that point in my head, I'm still just Chris Tabb from Boston. You know what I mean? And she's doing theaters all over the country. And, you know, first show was, I think it was called the Murat Theater in Kansas City. And I'm stressing, like, what do I wear? What do I pack? Again, one of the best experiences ever. One of the best experiences in Indianapolis. We did New York. It was just some great experiences. And she would always take the time after the show to sit and talk. And the one thing she did, so she would do autographs and pictures afterwards. She would sit and stay there until every autograph and every photo got taken.
Oh,
so you figure if there's 3,000 in the theater, there were at least 2,500 in that line. And it just went on. Sometimes, like, the after thing went on longer than the show because everybody wants to come up and give her hugs. There were people who painted pictures of her and were giving her gifts and things like that. And just being around that, I'm like, this is real. Like, wow, this is the way it goes. Yeah. It was quite an experience. We would sit and talk after every show. We would go over, you know, things that I did, and this is what you should be doing. And you know, it was super valuable to me. It was super valuable. It gave me a peek into the heavens, if you would. Yeah. Good times.
So how long did you work with her, Chris?
I think over the course of about a year. I would go out and do dates. We did Houston, and just that's good times. And I really wanted to set myself up so I didn't become comfortable with it. Like, but there was no way I could, because I got excited every time the phone rang, and I knew it was going to be something good. And it didn't matter where she said we were going. It was funny. One time we're in Indianapolis. Indianapolis, Indiana, and this was at the time where the Colts could not make it to the Super Bowl because of Tom Brady and the Patriots. I mean, they had gone through a few years of meeting the Colts in the playoffs, and the Colts could never get past the Patriots. So there's a host, and then there's me and Monique. So we're getting ready to start the show. And the host is getting ready to go out, and he turns to me And he goes, hey, oh, by the way, what do you want me to say about you when you bring me up? And I just say, hey, here's your featured act, Chris Tabb. He's like, no, where you from? And I was like, don't worry about it. He's like, no, where you from? And I was like, no, that's just Chris Tabb from BET or something. Because I already knew. And so I, you know, he brings me up, I go out, I do it, it's great. I bring Monique up, it's great. I get off stage and the guy's like, hey man, how come you didn't tell me? He was like, the guy told me you're from Boston. How come you didn't just tell me that? And I was like, if you would have gone out there and said that I was from Boston, I wouldn't even have been able to finish. I mean, the booze would have rained down upon me. I know in certain states there's triggers. So if you would have been in Indianapolis at that time and said from Boston, Massachusetts, it would have been no way.
Not good.
There would have been at least 100 Colt fans in that crowd. No way. But those are those great memories, and that was a taste of, you know, just a small taste of what it's like on the road. And a lot of what she gave me just developed my professionalism in doing this. And again, it's those little things. It's showing up to shows on time, not going over your time, you know, respecting the host, respecting the feature, respecting your place on the show, respecting the booker. You know, good bookers get good comics. You know, we've all worked with bookers that, you know, it was 2 years later and you finally got your money for the gig. You know, I'm not excited about working for that person anymore. So I've always said, you know, be professional. You know, a lot of people talk about my sneakers on stage and the shoes I wear and things like that. It's all just a part of me of caring about the audience, because it's more than just the jokes. It's more than just the jokes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get up there in a barrel around you and be funny, as long as the barrel is part of the act. But for me, I just want to present the best me that I can, and I want to always appear professional to the people, because, and this is one of the earliest lessons I got from Monique, people have a choice. People have a choice about where they can go and where they can spend your money. And she would always say, you don't cheat the people. You don't cheat the people, because this is after our first show, and she said there were people in the crowd tonight that could not afford to be here. They couldn't afford to be here, but they wanted to see me, and they took that money from their grocery money or wherever. You know, maybe this wasn't in their budget, but they did it and they came. So don't cheat them. Give them the best show possible, because they could have went to go see Magic or a dog act. You know, they didn't have to come here tonight. So whether it's a $5 ticket, a $10 ticket, whatever it is, sometimes it's a $55 ticket. You got to give the people what they came for. Leave it all on the table. Now, if it's a free show, then if it's an open mic, then do whatever.
I'm the same way though, because I always give 150%. Like I remember doing a small party in Woonsocket years ago when I was starting out, and there were 10 people. I'm like, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And that gig changed me, because I went up and they were 10 of the greatest people, and they were laughing. They laughed for the whole half hour, and I left there, and I knew whether you got 10 people or 300, you got to give them a show.
There it is.
And I learned that night, and I always give 150%. And that's
there
what you do. Yeah. You got to do that.
There's nights to work out, and there's nights to bring it, you know, and you have to know that difference. Again, that's that skill set that I'm talking about, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. How many gigs have you gotten from just doing a gig, going up, doing your time or whatever? Somebody comes up to you, say, oh, that was great. Can you come and do this thing for us?
Yeah.
You know, we were trying to figure out somebody. You're the guy. Can you come and do it? I mean, so much of this is word of mouth, and one gig leads to the next. So, you know, if you've got a paying audience there, the least you can do is give them what they came for. And you know if you did your best, then there's no shame in bombing.
Yeah.
There's no shame in bombing.
Nah, man, we all have the nights where it just
Right.
doesn't go.
Just wasn't your night. But the first thing I ask, I've been on the other side of that. But the first thing I'll always ask is, did you do your best? Did you do your best? And if you say, well, I did go up there with this new thing and then I didn't hit the thing with, well, there you go. There you go. Learn from it. You got to learn from that.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Yeah. Like you said, though, you never know. One gig leads to, like I worked Trios Comedy in Connecticut, 2017, I think it was. And I worked, the headliner was Tammy Pescatelli, who I hadn't met yet.
Wow.
She'd been on a Tonight Show, and she was very nice, and a nice conversation with her. And didn't think anything of it. And a few months went by, and I got a call from Brad Axelrod, Trios Comedy. He said, Tammy Pescatelli wants to talk to you about a show she's doing at the Friars Club, Club City. So I told some of my comic friends, and they said, the Friars Club? What are you thinking about? You just do it. So I called her up, and she had a show at the Friars Club, and so I went out to New York, and I put the suit on, and you know, I think I was going to go up third that night, Chris. And she said, well, you work the crowd. I'm going to have you go last, like fifth. So I go up. I had 12 minutes, Chris.
Yeah.
It was one of the best nights of my career. And it's not that big in there. There's like 7,500 people.
Yeah,
I do my 12 minutes. I'm doing my crowd work. Nailing it. Wow. I look at her, my time's up, and I'm looking at her. She said, stay up there. I did another 12 minutes. Now I'm at the Friars Club in New York City.
Right.
Rickles was, and Milton Berle, and all. And here I am. I was a wreck when I went in there that night.
Yeah.
25 minutes, and I had one of the best sets of my life. And that's a memory I'll never forget. You know, and I'm still friends with Tammy Pescatelli to this day. And that led, I think that helped me. Bill Burr, I'd been talking with him and stuff, and I told him I did the Friars Club, and a couple of weeks went by, I got a text, and Bill Burr asked me to open for him at the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom in New Hampshire. Wow. So I did 2 shows with him. So my career, in 29 years, 3 months was the biggest 3 months of my career, Chris. I did the Friars Club. I opened for Bill Burr. Did the whole weekend with Lenny Clark. I thought something's going to happen now. And then now that was it. I'm doing Zoom shows.
Well,
but it was a great 3 months, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're all doing Zoom shows. So I could say this. The one thing is every comic is starting on the same level now. Everybody, the game, the playing field has definitely been evened during this pandemic. But again, everything leading up to that moment, though, you had to have, I mean, it's all practice until you get to that moment. You know what I mean? So every show you had done leading up to those 3 months in the Friars Club was counted. It all counts. It all counts. Learn a little something, whether it's a new tag or just something extra you say or the way you say it or whatever. Every time on stage is a gift. And you never know. You never know when it's going to happen.
You have to be in a bullpen ready. Like Monique came up for you, the Friars Club came up for me, Bill Burr. You have to be ready. You got to be in the bullpen. Yep. If they send a call out, Chris Tabb, we want you to do this. You got to be ready. You got to be ready.
The one thing Monique used to say: stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you got that Friars Club gig, you didn't say, I need like 3 months to warm up and practice and go do this. No, man, it's game time. You're going in the game. You've been sitting on that bench. You've been sitting on the bench all season. It's your time to go in the game.
I think I had about 3 weeks, and that was it. It was coming, and I was like, okay.
In those 3 weeks, you couldn't have done enough shows to get you ready. I mean, every night is like, I need to go up again. I need to go up again. You know it. You just got to get up and knock it out of the park. And
when I walked in there that night, Chris, I'm in the Jerry Lewis room, the Don Rickles room, the Milton Bill room. I had a suit. I was sweating. I was nervous. I was like, this is like the Friars Club. These are where all biggest comedians, you name them all, they've all been there. They've done the roast.
Did you forget your act for 2 seconds? You keep forgetting, like, what do I say?
I was nervous, but you know what? When I hit the stage, I was fine. It was weird.
Yeah. There
I
it
had
is.
time. They had dinner and this and that. So by the time I was last, so by the time the 4 acts went up and Tammy and I went up, I was ready. I was ready.
Yeah.
You know.
It's kind of like, you know, I've never boxed in my life, but if you're fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world for the first time, you're probably not good until you take that first punch, until you get hit. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, I can feel now. Hopefully you don't get knocked out, but you know, you got to take a hit, and you know, just that's the sport of this comedy to me, and that's what I love about it. I mean, we've all had those fears of walking into a room and like, I don't belong here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Listen, John Tobin gave me one of the greatest experiences ever. On top of all the great experiences I've had in comedy, I was the opening act for the roast of David Ortiz at the House of Blues in Boston.
That's awesome.
And even just saying it, even just leading up to it, I want you to go up for the roast of David Ortiz at the House of Blues. I couldn't even fathom it. I couldn't even fathom it. I mean, I remember me walking up to the venue and like, oh, here we go. Something's going to happen. I'm not going to be able to get in. They're not going to believe me. And I'm in the stage door. And I mean, so that night on the bill, I don't even know if I can remember everybody, but it's all these, it's Red Sox. It's obviously it's David Ortiz. It's Gronkowski. It's, Jesus, he played the Falcon in the Marvel MCU movies, but I'll run the list down later. But Bill Burr's there, and I mean, I literally did not belong in that green room. I did, but I didn't. And like 4 times I was like, I think I should just walk out, because I mean, the net worth in that room at that moment had to be a $500 million. Everybody's in there, and these guys are just kicking it. I got nothing to say. Can you imagine? I'm around legends. I got nothing to say. There's nobody I can share a story with at that moment.
Oh,
Nobody. And it's like and what I really didn't want is for somebody to say, "Who are you?" Because I think I would have been escorted out. So I played the corner. I stayed in there, and you know what was weird? It's Gronkowski comes over to me, and he's got his lines for the roast, and he's like, "Man, I don't know if these work. Can I try them out on you?" I'm running lines with Gronkowski in the corner. I'm running lines, his roast lines. I'm like, "Nah, say it like this. Say it like this." And I could tell he had never done comedy before. He had never done comedy before. He's a great personality, though. He's a great personality, and the way he embraced it was awesome. David Smith was there. I don't know if you know David Smith, but he's a writer, great comedian. And Dan Smith. Why am I saying David? Dan Smith, good friend of mine. But he didn't come till later, and he knows these guys. He had opened for Bill on the road and everything else. So seeing him kind of calm me, I'm like, Dan, what's up? And you know, he's just there because he actually wrote for the roast, and so it's getting closer to it. And obviously, Big Papi's the man at this point. Everybody knows Big Papi. His family's back there, his kids, everything. Man, this thing had to be $200 a ticket, easily. Wow. The House of Blues is packed, absolutely packed. Standing room only in the front. The front section is standing room only. In the back, in the balcony, is all chairs. And I mean, man, it was different for me because this is a home game now. You know, with Monique, it was on the road. This is a home game, and like you said, you're nervous, but you're trying to stay loose so that you can deliver, because I wanted to be the best Chris Tabb I could possibly be. I think they gave me like 10 minutes or whatever. Oh, man. I hear my name. I go out. Stage is massive. They've got this big mural behind me, the roast of David Ortiz. These guys are all in the back. I go out. Pow, pow, cow, it works. And you know, in those situations, like when you were at the Friars Club, even though you did 24 minutes, it seemed like it was over like that. It goes by like so fast, like before you know it, it's over. Yeah. And I do it, crowd goes nuts. I walk off. First guy I see is Bill Burr. He's leaning on the steps as I'm coming down. He's like, man, it sounds like you did well out there. How are they? And at that moment, I was like, okay, now I belong back here. I belong back here. I opened the friggin' show. Now everybody back here knows who I am, because I had asked for no photos, no autographs, no nothing. After that, after I came off stage, that's when I got all my photos, autographs. Oh, it's Anthony Mackie is back there, the actor. Yeah. And yeah, man, I felt like I could be back there then. Dustin Pedroia's back there.
Wow.
You know, and at that point you're more relaxed to say, hey, can we get a photo or whatever? Sure, come on, man. I'm glad I waited. I'm glad I waited for that moment. But it was tense there for a minute, because I'm all nerved up about being in the room with all these guys. But then after you get off stage, man, it's all good. And then while the roast is going on, which is great, you know, I got my backstage thing on or whatever, and I get to walk through the crowd now. People recognize you. They were, oh, you were the guy. You were funny. Oh, man. Hey, Mac, let's take a photo. Man, one of the greatest nights of my life, man. I'll never forget John Tobin Presents for giving me that opportunity, trusting me with it. Trusting me. Lenny Clark was on that show. It's all coming back to me now. Lenny Clark was there. Oh man, it was such just an amazing night. And again, you know, now I'm sitting in the back watching. I'm at a table with John, and then I can't believe I was just up there, because seeing it from the crowd's perspective now, it's like, whoa, this is, man. I haven't been back to the House of Blues since. I haven't gone in for a concert. I don't think they do comedy there. I haven't been back since. But I've had some truly amazing moments, and the one thing I never forget those, because those are my blessings. So I always say, if it were all to end tomorrow and we could never go back to doing comedy, I've had a blast. I've had a blast.
I could say the same thing. I've had a blast.
And this moment also lets you know, do not take it for granted, because it can all be taken away at any moment. Like, who would have ever thought in the wildest dreams? Again, we're in an unprecedented time. But I mean, when this all broke out, I mean, I must have lost 15 gigs. Like every week, like something was disappearing, like it was coming down. And even then I didn't believe this was happening, but every week as we got closer to the gig that was supposed to take place, we were like, oh, they canceled it. And it started to become real when I was like, my March is gone. I had plans for that money. I had already mapped out the spending, but I think that's when it became real. So by April, everything really started shutting down. And then I never take a time on stage for granted, or a gig. Even, listen, you might think this is crazy, but do you remember the time you called me up to ask me to come and do Terry's party?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And even that, I always take that as, wow, you know, John trusts me at this. This is a special time for him and Terry. You could have had anybody come through. You know, Vinny Paz is there, and Prince of Mystery's there, and I'm like, you trust me to call me during this very personal time with your family. I don't know who that table was I was harassing with the old guy.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Hopefully he ended up having a good time, but you know, that's how I look at those things. Not as just, you know, oh, this is just another gig, I'm doing another birthday party or whatever. You know, you trust me to come in here, and I'm only coming in on my laurels. You know, you got nothing else. So, you know, I think Chris Tabb can handle this. I fully respect that, and I always appreciate it. I always those gigs like that are different from when you're trying to like chase a booker down for 6 months to try to get 5 minutes on their stage.
Yeah,
And
no, I pay that night. I pay that night, Chris. You know that.
No, I mean when you're trying to get booked at a certain room, or you're trying to work at a place, so you're chasing someone down for like, you know, he won't call me back. Please sending emails. Here's my avails. No, those are different from someone calling you in for a personal, you know, I want you to do a birthday party or a graduation or something like that, because those are personal moments to those families. Even the Zoom parties that I do where people can't be out because of social distancing, I take it pretty seriously. You know, I advertise that I'm available to do these things for people. And again, it's just a chance for people to get together, talk, laugh visually, and I'm there to just kind of glue it all together. But it's still important to me because you may have people on this meeting that haven't seen each other for 4 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So giving them their chance to have a good time, and I try to create as much of a party you see how much fun I have on stage when I'm up. So I try to bring that same atmosphere virtually.
You got a lot of energy. You're hilarious. A lot of funny bits, man. I tell you, you're one of the few I request bits from you. I say, Chris, can you do the Cape Cod bit tonight? Can you do this?
You do
I want to see this. I know the greatest hit to Chris Tabb.
Always fun, man. Always fun. So that's why I try to. I don't know how many vitamins you're taking, John, but I read the label on all the vitamins now. Like, what are the ones to keep your joints loose? I don't want to get stiff. So I'm trying to stay as healthy as possible to get as much out of this vessel as possible. Because, you know, eventually I would like my stand-up to be something that I enjoy doing, but I don't have to do it. There's no pressure to do it, because to be a road comic, to survive off of this, is it causes you to look at the comedy in a different way. So if you knew, you know, you and Terry eat, if this show is a success, it's going to have you approach the comedy a little differently than now. I can do this, you know, I can do this because I like to do it, not because I have to do it. I mean, we love, you and I both love doing stand-up comedy, and the last thing we want to do is under duress.
Yeah,
you know, you don't want to do this while somebody's got a gun on you saying, you better do good tonight.
Yeah.
Or
yeah. You do it because it's your passion. You want to do it, and
exactly.
You don't want to be under duress. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a situation where, you know, I have to do it now, or because I can't, I'm super suffering. I'm breaking down mentally. I can't eat. You know, I can't sleep at night. You know, so I would say when it comes back, it'll be back, and we'll be right there waiting for it. We'll be right there waiting for it.
I can't wait.
You may do your first show by yourself. I booked no one. I just want to be up here. I want to be up here for as long as I can tonight, folks. But it's also a chance to celebrate, right? So when you're able to book your first show back, you'll be able to have quite a celebration. You're going to have to get some balloons or something.
I'll have some balloons delivered, man. Some giant cookies or something.
There you go. Yeah, but before we wrap up, I just wanted to say right now, so I'm finally getting to my script. I'll just call it my script. I've had an idea in my head for a while. I didn't know if it's a movie, if it's a sitcom, if it's just a short. I don't know. But the whole thing is just get in and write it down. So I want to thank my friend Bethany Van Delft for putting a fire under my ass and just saying, you just got to do it. And that was just through me talking to her one night at a club, and I said it, and she was like, well, that's it. That's the idea. That's the show. And I was like, holy shit, you're right. And so it's getting to that. I'm working on my t-shirt company. I call it T-shirt and Apparel, but right now it's just t-shirts. So I'm designing t-shirts, and it's been going pretty well. I designed this t-shirt for the pandemic, which people seem to like. So if anybody wants to find out how to check out my store or get a shirt, follow me online at Chris Tabb Show. Twitter at Chris Tabb Show. Of course, you can follow me here on Facebook, or you can call John Perrotta and tell him, how do I get in touch with Chris Tabb? Also, just waiting for the chance to get back to my home away from home, the CBS Sporting Club out in Foxborough. I'm the house MC out there, and I find it hard to believe that that's never coming back. So I'm sure it's coming back. And in the meantime, still doing my virtual gigs, designing shirts, writing scripts, living my best life, staying healthy, and trying to do 100 push-ups a day.
It would take me a long time to do 100 push-ups.
Oh man, you just got to start, man. Whether maybe it's one a day, and then the next day add another, and then the next day add another.
I watch you when you do the Facebook Live and you're working out, and I just watch it. And I'm like, wow.
I definitely miss my gym, but I'm in no rush to get back to a gym until I'm sure that that's 100% clear. So in the meantime, I'll be doing the home gym thing for a while.
That's it. Hey, Chris, it's been awesome having you on. I mean, I've known you for I don't know how many years now, and you're one of the favorite acts I book. One of my favorite people in the business. We got a great rapport with each other, and every time I see you, it's I look forward to seeing you. When I know you're on the show that night, I look forward to it. And we get along great. And you're one of the best. You're one of the best in the business.
I appreciate it, man. Nothing but love, John. Nothing but love. I think when we met, I had an afro, so it was a while ago. It was definitely a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, but hey, if you need me to come on and be a guest when you have your big parties on, I'll jump in. Whatever, man. Just hit me up anytime. You got my number. It's never a problem. I trust, love, and respect you, John Perrotta. Thank you, man.
Hey, Chris, thank you. Thanks for coming on. Stay healthy. One of the best in the business tonight. My special guest, Chris Tabb. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, brother.